We have some breaking news to discuss as Cavan Biggio has been traded by the Toronto Blue Jays to the Los Angeles Dodgers. After being DFA'd, the Jays have found him a new home. So we'll break that down and much more on this episode of 3 Up, 3 Down. What's up, everybody? Welcome into this episode of 3 Up, 3 Down. I'm your host, Peter Vryonis, and we have some breaking news to announce as Cavan Biggio, the utility man of the Toronto Blue Jays, or former utility man of the Toronto Blue Jays, has been traded to the Los Angeles Dodgers in exchange for a prospect, Brayden Fisher. So let's get into the video, but before we do that, make sure to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button as well. Your support means the world to myself as I'm on the road to 200 subscribers. So make sure to keep killing it with the support. And let's take a look at the first screenshot here. The Los Angeles Dodgers are acquiring super utility man Cavan Biggio in a trade from the Toronto Blue Jays, sources tell ESPN. Biggio, 29, was DFA'd by the Blue Jays last week. He's hitting 200 with a 323 on base, 291 slugging this year, and 227 average, 343 on base, 382 slug for his career. So Cavan Biggio's numbers have been trending in the wrong direction this season for the Blue Jays, and he was good for them last year, had an OPS over 700, but he's not an everyday player, and I don't think he'll ever become that. But there is a fear now amongst Blue Jay fans that he's going to go to the Dodgers and figure something out, because most players tend to do that, although I just don't see that happening. He's 29 years old, and he is what he is at this point of his career. Maybe he could have a bit of a resurgence, but he refused an option to the minor leagues, because you can do that with 5 years of service time in the bigs, in order to get more playing time on an MLB roster. So he wasn't really seeing the field much with the Blue Jays, who are a team fighting for the final wild card spot in the American League. And now he's going over to the Dodgers, the team that spent the most money in the offseason, the team that has World Series aspirations. I'm sure the Jays do too, but the Dodgers have a legit shot at a World Series, and I don't know how much more he's going to play on that team. It's good for him. He still gets that MLB paycheck. He still gets to stay on an MLB roster, but I just can't see him cracking that lineup on a consistent basis. Although he does offer value in the base running sense. He's a very good fielder. He can play all over the diamond and even in the outfield as well. But as far as his performance with the bat goes and him being an everyday player, I think that ship has sailed on Cavan Biggio. And this is the tweet that I'm talking about by Avery Chenier of Gate 14. Cavan Biggio is going to be the best hitter in baseball at some point, and it's something we all have to accept. So a bit of satire in that for those of you that are taking that quite literally. But yeah, maybe he will go and improve with the Dodgers. That's a legitimate possibility. And this is the return that they're getting, the Blue Jays, that is. Right-handed pitcher Brayden Fisher is the return from the Dodgers for Cavan Biggio. Has a 4-pitch mix, 4-seam, cutter, slider, curveball, with his fastball up to 96.4 miles an hour this year. And excuse the noise in the background. There's some construction going on just outside of my house, so you have to bear with me on that front. But yeah, decent return for the Blue Jays. Brayden Fisher has struggled a little bit in the minor leagues this season, but he's 23 years old, and the Jays need as much pitching as they can get, especially considering that Alek Manoah is going to be out for the season. They don't really have a legitimate fifth starter, but Brayden Fisher profiles more as a reliever. That's what he has been. He's got a bit of an issue with the walks, so he's going to have to clean that up. 15 walks in his 19 innings of work this season, but still, a return is better than no return when you DFA a player. So it's good that the Blue Jays got something in exchange for Cavan Biggio, but this is a fresh start for him. I want to focus more on the Biggio front. I don't know too much about Brayden Fisher, but I'm a Blue Jay fan, and Biggio has been there from the start. It just sucks that he didn't pan out with the team, because he was supposed to be that third guy in the core with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Bo Bichette, but unfortunately it never came to fruition, and he never found consistent playing time, whether it was because of injury lack of performance. He never drew into the lineup consistently. Last year he did. I mean, he was their everyday third baseman or everyday second baseman towards the end of last season, and played decently going into the playoffs, but we know that the Jays lost 2 games in a row and were ousted by the Minnesota Twins. So he gets a fresh start now. He gets a chance to play on a really good team. How much playing time is he going to get, though? That's still the question that I don't really have the answer to. And they have other players like Miguel Vargas. They have Gavin Lux. They have a bunch of middle infielders, Mookie Betts as well, who's not really moving away from that shortstop position anytime soon. So he's going to have to scratch, fight, and claw for every bit of playing time that he gets in Los Angeles. And I just don't think it's going to be that much. I wish him the best. It didn't work out for him in Toronto, and I think the Jays did the right thing by moving on from him, because a player like Cavan Biggio with the Blue Jays is pretty redundant. You have Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, who doesn't hit for much power, who's a utility man. Davis Schneider, who got pretty hot with the bat, but now he's been on a cold streak. He plays a bunch of different positions as well. And the Jays just called up Spencer Horwitz, who can play second base, who can play first base, who can play some left field, all the positions that Cavan Biggio was able to play. Not as much of a utility man as Biggio, but still, he just wasn't cutting it with the bat to the point where the Jays could justify putting him in the lineup, considering how bad their hitting had been all season long. So it was the right move for both sides. I'm glad Biggio gets to stay in the major leagues, but it's going to be tough for him to get playing time on that stacked Dodgers roster. It's going to take him a while, if he even gets the chance to go ahead and do that. But it's a good trade for both sides. I think the Dodgers maybe needed some pinch running, maybe needed some defense, but in terms of everyday playing time, he will not get that in Los Angeles with the Dodgers unless he gets hot and figures something out. But good for him. He's going into LA. Great weather, great team, great city. So he's going to have some fun there, but he's going to have his work cut out for him as well. But good trade for both sides. I like it. I'm glad that we got this early morning trade. Gives me something to talk about, and I wasn't expecting a team like the Dodgers to go ahead and pick up Biggio. If he wanted to stay in the bigs, he wanted consistent playing time in the bigs, I thought a team like Oakland would go and scoop him up, or the Colorado Rockies, something like that. Someone that can use his services and allow him to be an everyday player and maybe up his value to trade him in the offseason. I don't know. It's a very puzzling move by the Dodgers. They must know something. They must like something about Biggio. But very interesting. I like it. Thank you guys so much for making it this far. Make sure to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button as well. And I'll just leave you with this on the way out right here. Cavan Biggio, after spending a week with the Dodgers hitting lab. I would not be shocked if that happened. But in all seriousness, thank you guys so much for making it this far. Appreciate it. And we'll see you all tomorrow. Make sure to subscribe for the daily content. But until then, enjoy the baseball, folks.